I am Fazil of Class 9, your host for the day. On behalf of Sana Model School, I bid a very warm welcome to one and all present here to this session with Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening to one and all, and welcome to today's session of Sana Inspires series with our esteemed guest, Mr. Gautam Ramdas. It's a tremendous pleasure to welcome today's guest of honor, Mr. Gautam Ramdas, our correspondent Nurul Amin sir, our principal ma'am, our guide Abdul Rahman sir, teachers, and my lovely friends to an interesting session with an eminent personality today. Let's start this session by listening to an absolutely beautiful nasheed by Ataur of grade 10.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah. Every night and every day, every night and every day, never forget to say La ilaha illallah. Never forget to say La ilaha illallah. Never forget to say La ilaha illallah. When you walk down the street, use your time and repeat. When you walk down the street, use your time and repeat. And say with every heartbeat, La ilaha illallah. And say with every heartbeat, La ilaha illallah. Every night and every day, every night and every day, never forget to say La ilaha illallah. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Brother Ataur, for such a beautiful nasheed. I now call Muhammad Adnan of class 11 for the welcome address. Adnan, the screen is yours.
It's time to chill, to cheer, to shine, and to be inspired. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A highly esteemed guest, Mr. Gautam Ramdas, correspondent Nurul Amin sir, principal ma'am, teachers, and my dear friends. I extend my warm good evening to all of you. I, Adnan, on behalf of Sana Model School, welcome an inspiring personality for today's session. It is a great honor for me to welcome Mr. Gautam Ramdas, who very kindly agreed to enlighten us with his profound knowledge. Successful leaders see the opportunities in every difficulty rather than the difficulty in every opportunity. Sir, we are especially thankful to you. In spite of heavy burdens, duties, and responsibilities, you have joined us to dignify and magnify our meeting here today. We extend a warm welcome to you, sir, and wish you a wonderful time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Adnan. Let me now call Muhammad Abid of class 9 to introduce our today's guest of honor. Abid, you can come on.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening to one and all. It is my greatest pleasure to introduce our chief guest of the day, Mr. Gautam Ramdas. He hardly needs an introduction. He has made all of us proud with his distinguished work in numerous capacities. Mr. Gautam Ramdas holds senior manager position at multiple international corporations. He is the vice president and director of Northern Technologies International, co-founder of Maxter, and he has just launched PVG India to bring a unique insect-resistant packaging to the food industry in India. He is an alumni of Don Bosco School completed his BE in Mechanical Engineering from College of Engineering Gindi and graduated within distinction. He has a Master's in Business Administration (MBA) from the prestigious University of Michigan in Ann Arbor in the US. Mr. Gautam Ramdas has won 6 national gold medals in rifle shooting, setting 3 national records. He is also a lethal weapon, a third-degree black belt in Aikido, a Japanese samurai martial art, and has started Aikido of Chennai in 2014. The center now has 10 black belts and 100 plus students, instructors going to Japan for annual training at the world headquarters. Besides the career accomplishment, Mr. Gautam Ramdas has been a volunteer and an activist who has jumped in to help people in need. He is a US gymnastics certified coach and a team manager for Tamil Nadu team that went to nationals in 2018 and 19. He has raised sponsorship to support so many activities through the CN Ramdas Champions Development Trust and adopted 2 government schools and provides free gymnastic coaching and equipment. During the current coronavirus lockdown, he has worked with various NGOs to provide relief, including funding and coordination for 4 trains bringing 6,800 migrants from Mumbai to Chennai. I now hand over the session to my friend Fazil. Thank you.
Thank you, Abid, for the wonderful introduction. Success is no accident, it is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing or learning to do. A successful person is a dreamer who believed in themselves. Amidst us today, we have one great such person. Yes, we now request our honorable guest, Mr. Gautam Ramdas, to address the gathering, and we are eager to know more about you.
Thank you,
So,
Fazil.
so
Am I clear? Is everything is
yeah,
audible?
yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So once again, thank you for the opportunity to address all of the esteemed faculty and students of Sana Model School. For me, again, listening to all of the different things that was read out, it gives me a sense of pride almost. But at the same time, I'm also trying to figure out which of those aspects of career and work and sports to actually kind of talk about when we discuss things with young minds in schools and things like that. So I'm very happy to be here. This entire series, like I mentioned earlier, when we were growing up, there were very few options in terms of careers. You were either an engineer, a doctor. If you had some business of your own, then you did BCom. And if you didn't have any of those options, then you kind of fell into some fourth category that nobody talked about a lot. But these days the career options are fantastic. When I finished my school and college, also I did engineering. I followed the regular path. But after that, once I finished my engineering, I realized that there are actually many different kinds of jobs out there in the world. I did consulting where I was exposed to many industries, and I did my MBA, again, many different kinds of exposure to jobs. But I always felt like, when we were younger in school, we used to have career counselors, but there will always be engineers, always be doctors, and maybe some accountants would come and talk to us. Maybe some police people or things like that, but really nobody had the wide variety of opportunities that actually exist in the world out there. So to me, this entire series of bringing people in from different walks of life, from different parts of the world, it's not just people in Chennai. We have actually had people from the US and other parts of the world. So it's very, enriching to everyone to understand not just this regular path that you can take, but also all the different options that are available and how people actually got to those careers that they reach. So Abdul was very kind to send me some links to past speeches and discussions that people have had with you. And I think that was, across the different speakers, one of the things that really struck me was this breadth of, different career paths, different choices people had made, different kinds of education that they had, different motivations. And that's truly, what makes people successful, is being adaptable and kind of opening your mind to these kinds of opportunities. So, I think first off, I just wanted to congratulate the school on not just being successful, but to having launched this initiative. And I hope all the students also understand that this is not just logging on and listening to somebody say something, but if you really listen and open your mind, you'll realize that some of these things actually apply to you, and you might find an approach or a career path or an option that you didn't think of before. So, kudos to everybody. And I am not sure how exactly you'd like to structure the discussion, so I'll hand it back to you, Fazil.
Thank you, sir. Before we go further, I would like to request the students to enter your questions, comments in the chat box. If you would rather ask in person, you can type your name to indicate that you have a question. Once your name is called, you can unmute and ask yourself. So I have few set of questions to be asked. If you may
Sure,
I?
sure, absolutely.
So here's the first question, sir. For your work, you hold many different management positions. How do you manage to juggle your time across each?
Okay, so first of all, I don't tell my different bosses that I have these different positions. No, that's not true. The first thing in terms of being successful is something called time management. A lot of people think of being successful as being academically proficient. I must get my marks, I must learn this, I must learn that, which is somewhat true. But at the end of the day, what your boss, somebody who hires you, is looking for is, can you do many things for that person? Right? So you should be able to manage your time very successfully. I'll give you a different example before I come to work. If you look at a college admission in India today, they purely look at marks, right? So your entrance exam marks, your 12th standard marks, and either you get in or you don't. And in history, what we have seen in management and companies is a lot of good Indians do a lot of good work, but all the management positions, you'll have people coming from other parts of the world to manage the teams and manage the companies. That's slowly changing, but what people value in other parts of the world is not just the degrees and the marks, but how many different things were you successful at? And that you can only do if you manage your time very well. So if you say, I can do different kinds of sports, maybe you do music, maybe there's art, and you've won some prize or done something with it, and you are also good at your studies, that means you're able to manage your time well. You're able to prioritize and be successful at those different activities. So now coming back to your question, time management is something that my brother and me, and he spoke to you a few weeks ago, like Abdul said,
Yes, yes.
is something that we both learned fairly early, and we managed to be successful at. So whether it's different jobs, or in your case, whether it's different things that you pick up as extracurricular activities or academic pursuits, managing your time is very important. So for me, it's like wearing different hats at different types of the day or week or month. Then I have to do a particular job, I finish it, I get it done, then allocate time for something else, and you get that done. And then you try and spend time for your fitness, your family, friends. All of those things are important. So um, a different way of thinking about it also is, an example that somebody gave me when I started working was, think of yourself as juggling, right? There's different balls in your life, and each one represents something important to you. It could be work, it could be family, it could be sports, it could be fitness, it could be nutrition, and you have to constantly be active managing all of them, right? And some of them will be made of rubber, they'll fall, they'll bounce, and they'll come back. And some of them may be made of glass, they might break. And you have to be careful knowing which one is important to you. If it's family, that's glass, you always want to be careful with that. If it's health, that's the glass ball, you want to be careful with that. So you have to manage your priorities. And when you take that same lesson into work, then you can manage different kind of opportunities, different roles, different positions.
Thank you, sir. It's second one. What is like? What it is like for working for U.S. company but living in India?
So a lot of people do that. They call it the expat lifestyle, where you're employed by a company that's paying you from somewhere, but you live somewhere else in the world. In my case, I'm not an expat salary. I just work for this company in the US, but I live in Chennai. Most of my clients and business partners are in other parts of the world. The company that I work for as a vice president, we're in about 60 different countries. So about half my time is spent flying to different countries, having meetings, making sure they understand what is required, helping them with morale, meeting their clients, things like that. And half the time I spend in Chennai, where I'm with family and wearing my other hats of Aikido and gymnastics and things like that. But it's again, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's becoming more common these days. In fact, nowadays with coronavirus, most people are working from home. And when you're in an international company and you can't travel, you're automatically managing operations all around the world. So I would say, it's like a regular job, except because I have clients in the Middle East, they work on Saturdays and Sundays. We have clients in Japan, so early morning in Japan is middle of the night in India, or it could be the United States. So you have different time zones, and so the work day is not a regular start at 9 o'clock and finish at 5 p.m. It's very flexible depending on what the requirements of the clients and your partners and employees are. You may have calls late in the night, early in the morning, or on weekends. But I think I have best of both worlds, where I live in India, where I have family, I have friends, I have lovely food over here in India for sure. So all of that fitness, everything is at home, but then I get to travel around the world for work as well. So I think I have best of both worlds in this job.
Thank you, sir. So you have an engineering degree and an MBA. How useful has your college education been in your life?
That's a very interesting question, and it's something I think from an education perspective is something I'm working with some other schools and NGOs in terms of understanding the importance of education and trying to reimagine what that really means. And from my personal life, and a lot of you will see this when you grow up and graduate and come into the workforce. Very little that you actually learn in either school or in college will apply to your actual job that you do. In my case, I was lucky. I worked and I did my mechanical engineering. Then I went and I worked in Australia as a mechanical design engineer. So for many years, I worked as an engineer, but most of my friends who did mechanical engineering got IT jobs, which means they never used their mechanical engineering after they left college. The MBA in the US is very different. It definitely teaches you skills that you'll use in your job, but all those are starting points. Once you start doing the work, most people learn on the job. You learn to do what you're doing once you get to the workplace. I'll give you an example. I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, and I don't know anything about being a doctor in that sense, but you're going to learn a lot of theory and you may do some practicals in the first 1 or 2 years of college. But only when you actually start being allowed to do surgeries and procedures in real life will you actually gain that experience over many years. So college and education and things like that are a base for teaching you how to learn in terms of like preparing you to understand the pressures of time management and expectation of your teachers who then become your bosses and things like that in the workplace. But at the same time, I encourage people to pursue other things in your life. Don't be one track saying I want to go and learn this for the marks. Then you're always going to be somebody's employee. But if you go in saying I want to learn, I want to enrich my knowledge, and I want to see what else is out there, whether it's sports or music or art or something else, you'll have a broader perspective. So education is a useful tool, but it's only one part of how you'll be successful in life.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Your brother, Mr. Girish, spoke to us a few weeks ago about Maxter. What is your role as co-founder in it, sir?
so Girish is the entrepreneur in our family, and I'm sure he said that to you as well. He's quite prolific as an entrepreneur. Even when we were very young, in the 10th standard, 11th standard itself, he'd already started doing some small business. Even before that, in the 6th, 7th standard itself, he was making money shining my dad's shoes and things like that. So he's definitely the serial entrepreneur in our family. I've always been kind of the backstop. If meaning if there's a problem, then okay, maybe I'm there to help. So for me, it's more of a stable environment kind of stuff. So I go that regular path to some extent, and then if there's a problem, then hey, I can always help to pick up. But he's not had problems. He's always forged his own path. And Maxter is, I would say, 99.9% run and managed by Girish and his team, and is doing very, very well. As a co-founder, I was part of the initial team, and we came up with the idea, and we spent many months in understanding the requirements and refining the business model and taking that to investors. You cannot start a company if you don't convince the investors that you are worth putting money in, right? There's only so much that you can do yourself. After which, if you want it to grow, you want other people to be convinced of your idea, and then they'll come on board and say, okay, yeah, we'll give you some money as well, and we'll all build this together. So I think that initial bridge part of it, I was very involved with the team in terms of helping them develop that model and present to the investors and things like that. Even that was not, there's no magic bullet. We didn't go to two guys and immediately they gave us a lot of money. Between Girish and me, we went to, I'd say, 40, 50 different meetings with different companies, maybe over 100 phone calls, and most people saying no, they were not interested. And then finally, with a lot of perseverance and sheer determination, we managed to get our investments. And then, of course, Max has taken off, and now it's very successful, and it's the world's largest digital publishing platform. So for us, my role per se, initially I was there quite active helping get this thing off the ground. But now it's more as an advisory role. I travel the world, so there's lots of connects that I have. We've tried to do very interesting deals with people like Amazon and Google and whatnot. So I've facilitated those kinds of discussions. But it's not a day-to-day role. Like I said, 99.9% is Girish and his team. And when they need something or if I feel I can help, then I'm involved with what they do.
Thank you, sir. This is not on your professional resume, but you had mentioned many charitable activities and social causes that you are campaigning. What has promoted you to do this thing, sir?
Sure. Actually, to some extent, I've, as I'm helping people with understanding education a little more and things like that, what I've found is we don't emphasize community and social kind of activities as much as you could probably do. And part of it becomes that we don't spend a lot of time helping social activities and things like in terms of charitable institutions and things like that are not on anybody's career path. You straight away think of, I have to study hard, I want to get my marks, I want to get into a college, and I'm going to get a job, and then I'm going to be successful. And maybe you as part of either school upbringing or parents values or maybe religious teaching, you may incorporate a certain set of charitable works and say, you know what, I'm required to do something, therefore I do some of those things. But you may not incorporate that or empathize with that on a daily basis. You may not think of it as, hey, how can I help more than just what is required of me, right? So for me, I feel like charitable activities and things like that are very important facets of life that need to be inculcated at a very young age. People have to include those kinds of activities, so it's part of your thinking. And why did I jump into it? For many years, you always somebody will say something, okay, maybe we contribute some cash or some time or whatever it was. But in 2015, unfortunately, my father passed away. And it was a bit of a moment of awakening for me, because at his funeral, I'd say more than 1,000 people attended, came personally, and all of them only had stories about how he had helped them. It was not, he was great and this thing. No. They didn't even talk about themselves. They only talked about how Mr. Ramdas had openly come and helped them, proactively helped them, whether it was Rotary Club, whether it was went through his office when he was an IAS officer. There were people whom he had helped, whom he didn't like even, and who may not even have deserved the help, but he was out there always helping people. And I thought about it and said, I've also been around on this earth for so many years, and I've not done much, in an organized way to help my fellow man. And so I started at that point making a change in my life. When you said, what about time management and things like that? One of the things my dad used to say is, sign a good busy man will always find the time to do what he needs to do. And, it's something we've lived through in our lives. And so I started kind of looking at doing more social kind of activity in terms of charitable work. And that was a year of the floods in 2015, December. And, so I'd come back from the United States. I'd landed. I think my flight was among the last of the flights before the airports were shut down. And then we realized that this flooding was quite bad. And I had some friends who worked were in the fishing villages and whom I'd helped before. So we managed to use some of their equipment, and we went around to different neighborhoods in the OMR area next to Buckingham Canal and Pallikaranai and things like that. And we started rescuing people. We would walk in the water. There would be sewage up to our chests. We'd walk in through that and take boats and boards, put people and goods and bring them out to safety. We would have snakes in the water. It's not like a glamorous thing. People think, oh, I just row a boat and I go and I pick people up. When you get into some of these houses, you'll find, for example, and this may not be a pleasant thing, but the walls will be covered with cockroaches because they've all come up from the sewage and they have nowhere to go. There'd be parapet walls with big rats running up and down and trying to jump into the water with you. So it's not a simple situation, but if somebody doesn't go out and help people, then how do these people get out of that? In fact, Abdul would know one of our school friends, two brothers, Siddharth Medappa and his younger brother Satyajit Medappa. They were among the top cricketers in the state and in the country. Their mother was stuck in one of these places, and we got the call saying, "Hey, is there somebody who can help?" So we actually arranged a rescue. Somebody to go almost 4 or 5 kilometers in the water in the darkness through snake-infested waters using just cell phone lights to bring this woman. She was on the second floor of her house, to bring her down and into the boat and bring her out. And everybody's very grateful. As a class charity work, all of us gathered money after the floods were over and things like that. In Amir Mahal, Nawabzada Asif Ali was on your thing as well. He's a classmate of mine. So he organized a get-together where we donated a lot of money and equipment to those people those fishermen doing all the rescue work. So that kind of started off saying there's things that any of us can do to help our friends, our neighbors, our community, and people get stopped by inertia, right? Even if you take coronavirus right now, people be thinking, what can I do, right? Oh, so many things are happening, what can I do? It doesn't have to be much. You can make 2-3 masks and give it out to people. Maybe you have extra hand sanitizer that you share with people. Maybe you cook a few meals that you just take to some migrants. Those are all simple things at any age and stage that you can start off as being charitable activities. And to me, it's not just charity. You've got to find a way to lift the infrastructure. It's not when trouble hits you go and help, but what can you do when times are good? That people get better. So when times are bad, it doesn't affect them so much. And those kinds of thoughts are what have prompted these kinds of charitable activities. In fact, even gymnastics is essentially a charitable activity. We've kind of adopted some schools. We've sponsored coaches for training, local training, international training. We are working with our districts, 20 plus districts around the state, to help them understand how to get their kids physically active, safety, techniques, judging, competition, sponsorship. All of these activities we're doing across the state. And a lot of that is, again, charitable activities over the last few years. But I'd say my inspiration was my dad. And then, of course, you realize that your life becomes a lot fuller. There's only so much you can talk about in terms of studies and work and things like that. After that, people only remember you as what did you do for your friends and neighbors. And I think that's more of the motivation today than anything else. Sorry, long-winded answer.
So we have some students' questions over here. I will
Sure,
call up the name. There'll be like a live interaction with you, sir. So
sure.
let me call first Jamal Hanif.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hi,
So
Jamal.
it was really nice to hear you talk. So, according to the thing that we received, you have been to Japan a few times to learn Aikido, and so as someone who is very interested in Japanese culture, how was your experience there till now? Their food and their culture. How was your experience been till now?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a great question, Jamal. I mean, I think this is a good question for this kind of a series where we bring in perspectives from other parts of the world. Japan is a very unique place. Uh, they are believers in perfection to a level that I've never seen in any other part of the world. So anything that you take is done with such care and precision that we would find it hard to match. And it's not just a requirement of the job, it is a way of life for them, right? I'll give you a simple example. All of you have been in some public transportation, buses, taxis, and stuff like that, right? In Japan, the taxi drivers wear white gloves, okay, and they drive the cars. I could make this interactive, Jamal, but any guesses as to why they wear a white pair of gloves when they drive the taxis? Anybody can just
To
guess.
uh, I don't know, for protection against the, I mean,
It's true.
diseases, to stop diseases from spreading.
Sure, no, that's now in coronavirus time, but before also they used to wear it. And the idea was to show you as a passenger that the car is so clean that even at the end of the day, his gloves are still clean and white, right? So they take such meticulous care of the car. Even if you try to enter the car, you don't have to open the door. He's got a handle near his driver's side steering wheel. He'll turn it, and then your door will open. You enter, you sit down. He'll close the door for you. He'll take you where you want to go. Then they don't accept tips. If it's I'm just throwing it out there, like using dollars. If you say 10 yen is the fare, and you give him 15 yen, he'll give you back the 5 yen. Even if it's coins and change, immediately change will come back. They won't take a tip because they're being paid for the work that they do. And all I'm saying is that this is an inborn culture that translates to everything, whether it's food, whether it's engineering, whether it is roadways, cleaning things, even growing vegetables is done with the utmost care and precision. And it's not a requirement of the job. I mean, he could drive with dirty gloves or whatever it is, and who'd care, right? But the culture is such that they take great pride in that level of cleanliness, precision, and the outcome. So even Aikido, I go there to learn and practice, and I practice in different parts of the world. Their attention to detail, their kind of movements, very different, and that's something to aspire to. It's easy to kind of read about it, but it's very different to go there and experience it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
It's a great question, and we learned a lot about Japanese culture. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jamal Hanif. Next, I will call Adil Khan. Is Adil Khan here? Adil Khan. Okay, let me move to the next question. Next speaker, Rasin Renos.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah, Renos, you may go on.
Sir, how to manage both sports and studies at the same time, as that is the dream for so many students and you have achieved it. So, how to manage at the same time, sir?
Like I said, that is the kind of skill to learn. It's not whether you actually excel in the studies or sports. It's whether you excel in the time management that's going to be very useful for you going forward. Okay. So, but that being said, a couple of simpler things are one is academics are always going to be stable, right? So you are going to have certain subjects that you have to work at and put your time and effort in. And then sports is going to be the one that sports, I won't say sports, but any extracurricular activities are going to be things that hopefully you're doing because you have an interest, you have a passion, you have a aptitude for it. And if that's the case, then the sports part of it becomes a bit easy, where you enjoy it, you want to go out there. And what I keep telling people, because I've coached kids in many different sports over the years, we have something called what's called a performance hump, which means the first few months of starting anything, you'll find it very frustrating. You'll not be able to perform as well. If you say tennis, for example, the first few months of trying to take a racket and hitting the ball, you'll not get it over the net, or it'll go all kinds of places, and you get very frustrated, and you feel like, oh, this is not for me. And I've seen a lot of people quit at that point and say, oh, I'm not really getting it. But if you get past that performance hump and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to stay with it for the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever. Suddenly you'll find, hey, the ball's going over the net. I'm able to rally. I'm enjoying it. Then you meet some friends, you have more fun, and then it starts becoming more natural for you. Then, of course, you have to start allocating the time to getting fitter, to getting better, to focusing on your weak spots. And the same parallel applies to academics as well. So you're going to find some subjects that you'll find frustrating or whatever it is. And you'll find most people, they'll do what they like first. And they'll postpone the things that they don't like later. I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I don't feel like doing it. Right? If you do it the reverse, do the things you don't like first, get that out of the way, get the work done, then do the things that you like. You'll be able to manage your time a little better, right? So how do you manage academic, sports, extracurriculars? You have to allocate the time, and your mental makeup has to be such that I don't mind frustration, I don't mind some failure. I know if I stay with this, if I build that resilience in my routine, I will be successful. So stay with the path. Be, and of course, not everybody is going to be like Sachin Tendulkar in cricket, or a Ronaldo or whatever in football and things like that. So have some realistic goals, right? If you're going to be on a thing, make sure you first have the skills, then you get on your school team, then you try and do something at the district level, state level. So there's a progression to any of those things. And make sure you're enjoying yourself while you do it. If you don't enjoy it, if it's something you're doing because your parents are forcing you, you'll only go so far. You will not be successful because you're not pushing yourself. So that would be my thing is take it easy, be resilient, allocate your time, and have some realistic goals that you can kind of achieve and be successful at.
Sir, and as you said, we have to enjoy what you're doing, right? And how to
Yes.
enjoy that something I don't like, how to start enjoying that thing.
Right. So there's no magic answer to that. Now you'll find a lot of people will talk about follow your passions and this, that, and the other, which sounds good in theory, but you don't know at your age especially, and even at my age, people not necessarily know what their passion or what to do might be. So you cannot always do the things that you like doing. So there's always going to be what I call building blocks to life, right? So you have to, for example, somebody asked me, okay, why are you learning history? What is that of any use to you in your life, right? You'll never remember those dates, or you'll never use them again. And maybe that is true. But what happens is, as you start having conversations and you realize over time that it is interacting with people, when you have conversations, when you form friendships, those relationships are what's important both in work and in sports and in life. And for that, knowing things like history and geography and whatnot are the building blocks on which you can establish these kinds of relationships. So if you find, hey, there is a subject that you don't really like, try and figure out why you don't like it. Maybe there's parts of it you don't understand. And if you don't understand it, there are things you can do to learn the subject better. And maybe that subject is not for you, right? So maybe you don't understand certain parts of mathematics and it's not really coming to you easy. You'll have to work at it. You'll have to put the time and effort. It's that performance hump. Once you get through that thing and you realize, hey, wait a second, now I'm starting to understand it, believe me, you'll start enjoying it. For me, for example, geometry, when I first started, I was okay. I used to be very good at drawing, but I was only okay at geometry initially. But once I got some kind of teaching from some friends, then this friend of mine eventually went to IIT, so it was very brilliant. But he explained some of the concepts to me. All of a sudden, I realized that's not so difficult to understand. I started applying it, and by the time I finished school, I was among the best of the students in geometry, and in engineering, I got the highest scores in my engineering drawing and everything because of the geometry background. But to me, it's like find out why you may not like something, right? And then you can apply yourself to that and find a way to enjoy it after that.
Thank you so much. That will really be so much useful. Thank you,
Sure.
sir.
Thank you, Reno. So I may call next. Is Faisal here?
Yes.
You may go on, Faisal.
Hi, sir. This is Faisal here.
Hi, Faisal.
The question for you is, how are you maintaining your health in your busy schedule?
Okay, so that's a when I say you have to have time management and things like that, this is one of those things. When I say you're juggling different balls and whatnot, you have to make health your priority, right? And again, I keep somebody asked me a while ago, who is your inspiration and whatnot. And frankly, my inspiration was my dad for these kinds of things. And I wouldn't say dad, even my mom, both of them. My mom is 77 years old. Last year we went on a tour somewhere, and she walked some 24 kilometers and climbed 900 steps up and down with no problem at 78, 76 last year. So the fitness and everything is something that they've kind of taught us. Every morning my dad used to walk for 1 hour. Okay, very busy officer, traveling, all this kind of stuff. So I'll give you an example. Supposing you're in a different city, you're staying in a hotel, you want to go for your walk, and it's pouring outside. How would you walk? Right? You got that 1 hour, you have to walk, but you can't walk. So my dad used to go to the corridor of the hotel, not a very big corridor, but walk up and down for 1 hour. So his thing was, it doesn't matter. You can make excuses for whatever you want, but if you are committed to staying fit, then you will make the time and you'll take the effort, right? So how do you stay fit in terms of being busy? You've got to make that time for yourself. So I travel a lot, so different time zone. You come off flights, you're tired, you're hungry, but I found that go to the hotel, go to a gym, and you work out for half an hour, 45 minutes. It refreshes you. It brings you back to saying, okay, I'm ready to tackle the day. I'm ready to tackle my meetings. If I'm going to sleep, it gets me in the right mood. I've exercised a bit. I feel comfortable and I can get to sleep. So again, it's that same time management thing that I keep coming back to. You just have to make the time and enjoy it. I mean, to me, if I'm on the treadmill, I could be listening to music. I could be on a call. Sometimes I've been on calls while I've been on, doing exercise and things like that. Or I could be learning something. I could be watching some, how to do videos on stuff. So I'm multitasking, but at the same time, I'm doing my exercise as well. And these days, of course, lockdown. So I work out every morning. We work out for an hour. We throw in some weights, some core fitness, some martial arts. We got yoga. So some different things or the other to keep it interesting. And fitness is not a destination. It's not like I must reach this goal. Fitness is a lifelong journey. If you just take it from that perspective and say one of the important balls that I have to juggle in my life is my own body, my fitness level, you will start paying attention to it. In fact, one of my conversations with different schools and education people are, you go to a parent teacher meeting and you only end up meeting the subject teachers. Very few people end up meeting the PT teachers. And in fact, PT teachers themselves are not, if you go and talk to them, they'll be surprised, wondering, why is this person talking to me? Right? But the one thing that you take, you carry with you your entire life, work, career, sports, whatever it is, the one thing that you have your entire life is your body. If you don't take care of it, if you don't learn how to take care of it, if you don't learn fitness and flexibility and strength early in life, when you're 50, 60, you can be however successful you want. But then if you don't have good health, it's all a failure. So to me, I always encourage schools and parents to go and talk to the PT teacher to find out what is this person. Is the kids being able to run? Are they having aerobic fitness? Are they building muscles? Are they learning to include fitness as part of their life skill and not just studies and academics and things like that? So again, not sure that answered your question exactly, but
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, sir. I may call now Abdullah. Is Abdullah over here?
Uh, yes, am I audible?
Yeah,
Am I audible?
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah, Abdullah.
Sir, I am a rifle shooter, so I have a question for you that
Wow. Okay.
how can I develop my skills?
Well, what when you say rifle shooting, are you doing air rifle or .22? What are you shooting now? Okay, I don't think you
Abdullah.
can hear that, but
Okay.
okay, that's fine. So in general,
Oh, yeah, yes, I'm shooting air rifle.
air rifle. Okay, so couple of things. One obvious thing is practice. I can't stress that more because any sport that I've taken, I've played golf, for example, I've gone a single digit handicap, I won medals and things like that. Rifle shooting, of course, I've got gold medals and whatnot. Aikido, whatever. Any sport, it is a certain amount of practice. You practice. It's a Bruce Lee used to say this. I'm not worried about the man who knows 10,000 kicks. I'm worried about the man who knows one kick but has practiced it 10,000 times, right? So that way, all of these sports, especially rifle shooting, it is about practice, practice, practice. Your breathing has to be attuned to what you're doing. Your trigger finger and trigger control has to be uh, automatic. You shouldn't think I've now got my sight picture, I'm releasing a shot. When the sight picture happens, the finger will automatically squeeze. If you tell your finger to squeeze the trigger, you're going to miss the target, right? So to me, it is a lot of practice, but don't practice without intent. Okay, I'll give you another example. So if I was playing golf, for example, the guy next to me will be hitting 100 balls. I'll hit only 20 balls. But my 20 balls are hit with intent, meaning to me, I feel like I'm now in a competition. I'm now hitting a ball that's going to either win or lose the championship. I put myself into that situation and I play it as perfectly as I can. So the 20 ball practice actually gives more of a result than somebody doing 100 balls or just randomly going and hitting something. So especially in rifle shooting, it's an entire mental game, right? So you have to be able to focus, close your eyes, visualize, and put your mind into it. Even if you're practicing only a limited amount, each shot that you fire has to be that medal winning shot. Each shot has to be noted. Each shot has to be fired with that that's my gold medal shot in mind. If you can master that, then your practice, everything will start zeroing in on a very good result.
Thank you so thank you, Abdullah, for your questions. Uh, I have one curious student again here. It's Jamal Hanif again. Jamal,
Okay.
you can come up.
Yeah, so far you have talked about your different, you have talked a lot about time management and priorities, and so you have said that you travel all over the world. So how do you because you are obviously have a lot of things you said talked about juggling your different priorities, but then you would always have a thing of procrastinating one of the other things. So for example, you are learning a new skill, and then you have something important to do, then you are thinking maybe I'll do it tomorrow, maybe I'll do it next week. So how do you deal with procrastination?
Right. So there's a difference between scheduling something and procrastination, right? So procrastination is I can do it now, but I'll choose to do it later. Why? Because it may not be something I like. Even if you like doing something, obviously you're going to do it immediately. If you procrastinate and push it out, that means it's not something you want to do, and therefore you keep pushing it out and things like that. So, but I'll take your question as more of a scheduling issue, saying, hey, I have said I'm going to do 1 hour of practice or something or fitness or whatever. My client has said I'm going to do a conference call at the same time. So how do I juggle my schedule? Right? So those are two different things. If it is a conflict of schedule, then you reschedule one or the other. If you can reschedule your workout or the conference call, you do the appropriate thing. For me, I find, sometimes I'm on a flight. If I'm flying from here to the US, it takes 10 hours to get to Germany, then 4 or 5 hours layover, then another 8 or 9 hours to the US, then a layover, then another flight somewhere else. By the time I get there, it's been 2 days that I've gone. You can't really be working out so much. But I know that, so I don't stress out too much about that. When I get there, I catch back up. Okay, I missed 1 or 2 days. I will continue practicing it when I can. I slot it in. So mentally also, I don't feel like, oh God, I missed something. But in terms of practice also, I'm allocating the time that I can. Okay, so it's two different things. But if you're talking about procrastinating, then you have to really think about why are you procrastinating, right? So most people procrastinate when they don't enjoy, and that's my earlier point that I was trying to make, that people will try and do the things they like first and then the things that they don't like later, and then you'll end up not really doing a good job both. You better finish the things you don't like so you can get over it, then spend the time on the things that you like. So I don't know, it's two different parts to that question, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, thank you, sir. That kind of no, yeah, that was useful. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, Hanif. So we have two more students.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it's Rasin Rinos. You can come up.
Sir, my question is, as you talked about, you have to do something which I don't like, and how do I know which is important? How do I prioritize my work that this is important and this is
Right.
I can do this later? That is my
Right.
question, sir. How to
So
prioritize?
there are, so yeah, it's a very good question, and part of that is time management, right? In fact, your time management is driven by the priorities,
Prioritizing. Ah, yes, sir.
right? So I'll give you a different example, right? So I worked with this lady when I was in the US. She worked for a bank as a manager, and I mean assistant manager, which is not a very high position there, and was given a very large task that I was helping her with, and she was very overwhelmed initially, saying, oh my God, I don't know how to do this, I can't do that, and there's lots of things on her plate. So every day I would go there and I'd make a list of, here are 4 things that you have to do today. You do these 4 things, I'll help you with those, then next day we'll think of what else we can do. So it started off very, very small. I helped her kind of manage her schedule, and over time she herself started getting very confident, saying, I can manage my time in bite-sized chunks, I can prioritize based on, this boss wants this today, somebody else can wait for another 2 days, right? So I can adjust my time to match my priorities. And if I don't know what those are, then I get confused, and that's what is happening. Once she had laid it out and once I'd kind of structured it for her, she found it quite simple after that, and it's a skill she has taken. Few years later, she's one of the top executives at the bank. She's in charge of a global responsibility for the bank. She and I are still very good friends, and the whole thing was, I helped her with something, structuring her priorities. So it's the same thing when you say, hey, I'm not sure how to prioritize my activities. You have to think of like those juggling balls. Which one is the most important? If you have an exam next week, you cannot say, I'm going to prioritize my fitness today and then I'll study 2 weeks from now, right? So you have to know what's my timeline over the next few months. Every quarter, we kind of, in fact, I worked with my kids as well just a month ago, saying you got 1 or 2 years before you have to do your college admissions and things like that. Plan out for the next 2 years, what are the things you're interested in, what do you want to do, and backfill from there your priorities and your timing and whatnot. And things will change. You may realize 6 months from now you want to do something else. Fine. But you must have some kind of a plan that leads you in that path. So I think that if you start, will get you that answer in terms of priorities for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rinos. Thank you so. So I have one last student over here. Naeem
Sure.
here. Naeem. Uh, Naeem over here. Okay, let's proceed then.
Okay. Can you tell me something about Aikido? Aikido was very interesting. It's more of a defensive. Defe-
In fact, I was wondering, it's been almost near the end of
Tell
the hour and no
me
one's
about
really
Aikido.
asked.
yeah, it was very interesting. It's you could tackle many people at the same time. You could tackle a stronger opponent at the same time by mostly channelizing the your energy and
Opponent's
techniques.
energy. Right. So
It's very interesting concept. Yeah.
I can give you a quick introduction to that. So I'll give you 2, 3 things and a bit of trivia that your students might find interesting. So Aikido was the samurai martial art. Now I think Japanese martial arts, people think of karate, judo, more commonly known things. Don't say taekwondo because that's from Korea, or kung fu, which is from China. But nobody's really heard of Aikido. So there's a reason behind that also. But karate in Japanese, kara means empty, and te means hand. So karate means empty hand techniques, right? So the peasants and the people living in the villages, were not allowed to have weapons by the samurai and the rulers because they thought if you give you weapons, you'll fight against us. But they had their own battles, they had their own thieves and things like that. So they developed a system of fighting without weapons called karate. Very good. But the samurai didn't need karate because they had weapons. You have swords, spears, all this kind of stuff. But if you're in battle and your sword breaks, or you throw your spear, or you run out of arrows for your bow or whatever, how are you going to fight on the battlefield when your opponent has armor, weapons, and not is alone, but is with his friends, right? So in that case, you cannot hit somebody and punch somebody because they've got armor that they'll not even feel anything, right? So, and if you put your hand out there with a sword, he's gonna chop your hand off. So, how do you fight in a battlefield where your opponent has armor and weapons and you don't have a weapon in your hand? So that art of self-defense without having a weapon is the origins of Aikido. It used to be called Aikijutsu and all this kind of stuff. And the civilian version that we teach today is called Aikido, where basically I don't want to fight this man because he's either bigger, stronger, armed, or has armor, versus me, who could be smaller but without a weapon, and I want to still use their energy. So if somebody's chopping at you with a sword and you don't have a sword, your first objective is to avoid it. You can't put your hand up like in karate and block it. He's going to chop your arm off, right? So in Aikido, the first principle is avoid the attack. Whatever they're doing, you avoid it. Then you can redirect their energy, you can take their balance, you can control them, you can do lots of different things. And from a self-defense perspective, we found that to be very useful because, again, unless you're a trained fighter, to hit somebody and knock somebody out really only happens in the movies. If I give you a different example, if you take boxing, professional boxing, those people have trained for years, and yet boxing bouts go on for like many, many rounds where nobody can knock the other person out. You're telling me that guy doesn't have the power to hit or whatever? No, it's difficult. Those kinds of power-packed moves are very difficult, and in a real-life situation, an untrained person is not going to be able to knock out somebody. So you might as well not try to engage in those kinds of fights. You avoid it, and you use their own energy to peacefully take them down or control them till your friends or police or whatever come. And that's Aikido. Basically, it's called the way of harmonizing energy. That's what Aiki and those the words mean in Japanese. So again, it's one of those physical things that you have to come to our center, and we'll be happy to come to Sana Model School and do a demonstration with some of our instructors so you get a sense for this as well. We do teach at a couple of schools in the city, and if you're interested, that's something that we can certainly have one of our instructors come in and work with your students on that.
Thanks. It was very, very interesting. I really enjoyed that sessions and the concept too.
I'll give you one more trivia because I know we're running out of time, but I'm sure all of your students have watched the Star Wars movies, right? So the word Jedi, right? So the word Jedi actually comes from samurai TV shows in Japan that used to call Jediiki. And so when George Lucas went to Japan and he saw this, he was very impressed by the Aikido masters. So you look at the Jedi robes and stuff, it will be very similar to the way the Aikido masters dress. And a lot of the moves and principles come from Aikido. So this is just a bit of trivia that even in pop culture, there's a bit of Aikido that people didn't know about. The word Jedi itself comes from these Japanese samurai TV shows.
Yeah, Gautam, can we have an extension till 5:15 cutoff time?
Sure, I'm available.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
okay.
Because we have some more questions.
Excellent. It's been a great interaction, so I'm enjoying myself over here.
So let me continue.
Sure.
Yeah. So one last question I have, that is, quality or quantity, which do you support?
Always quality. I'm telling you, quantity really doesn't mean much in the real world. I give you my example of golf balls and this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter what you do in life, do it properly, right? If you do it well, then you will appreciate your own work first, and then other people will appreciate what you're doing. To say, hey, in fact, I've watched, because we're doing gymnastics, we have these online challenges now because we are in lockdown. So a lot of kids, the sub junior team kids and stuff, work with us. And so we do these online challenges. And so some push up challenge. Oh, can you do 30 push ups or 40 push ups, something like that? And I'm watching. So a lot of they're kids. So it's not a problem. But their push-ups are not actual push-ups. It's like little bits of they're just going slightly up and down, up and down, up and down, like content. But you had to actually go all the way down, right? So to me, it's fun for now. But if you want results, if you want to actually do the gymnastics move, then I'm not interested in how many you can do, but how well you can do them, right? So a lot of times, it's a good question, but in my mind, quality is always going to be higher than quantity. I don't want you to do 10 reports and just throw junk at me. I want you to do only 2 or 3 reports, but do them well. They should be useful. As long as they're useful and I can move forward with them, that's what's more important, right?
Yeah, so I have told many last questions and I have asked many. So let me
Abdul
make
has
this one
extended the
last.
time, so we still have a few more minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Just let me
Yeah.
make this one last. So I have a question for you. That Mr. Girish Ramdas and you both are the founders of Maxter. So
Mhm.
how do you have professional discussions with him, and who takes the lead in taking discussions?
So that's another interesting question, and
Yeah, so yeah.
I'll be a little honest also with you on that. It's not that easy. So Girish. So there's actually Girish and his, Vijay, who's the CTO of the company, president CTO, are the two full-time founders. He's the IT guy. Girish did all the business marketing, and me and another one person, CR Venkatesh, helped get this thing off the ground. But in the early days, especially when you're doing the business modeling, planning, and things like that, there were a lot of times we had to work together. And he has the entrepreneurial approach, and I have more of the business school approach to building these things. And they're not the same. And lots of times we do have kind of different approaches that had conflicts and things like that. But again, as brothers, it's fine. We've had fights all our lives about all kinds of things, but we know that we mean well, and we listen to the other person. I was always much bigger and stronger than him, so I'd always be very careful when we get into fights, because I feel like if I actually hit him or something, I could break something. But and that same kind of thing even in work. It's his baby. Max does his baby. It's what he's running. So I do give suggestions and ideas, and based on the merit of that, they can adopt them or not. And many times they adopt it, many times they don't. But they'll give me a reason, saying, "Hey, in our environment, we have tried it, or we're trying something else," and that's perfectly fine. So we believe that there's no harm in trying something and going wrong, right? A lot of people don't take risks. You have to take some risks in life. It's only failure that teaches you how to be successful. If you're always successful, you're not going to learn much, right? Only when you fail, you stop to think about, why did I fail? What happened? Girish will always give the story of how he was always trying to beat me in rifle shooting. So he decided to practice, and he did a lot of training and things like that. But before I started winning, also I had my failures. I would practice, I'd get to a certain score, but then in competition it would drop, and I didn't know what was going on. So you'd learn how to fix those kinds of failures and practice through them, and things like that. So between us, we have no issues about talking about dangerous ideas or different approaches or whatever, because it's a safe environment, right? As brothers and co-founders and stuff, I don't feel threatened by him. He doesn't feel threatened by me. There's no ego in that sense. So we're able to freely exchange ideas. We don't necessarily like each other's ideas, but we can freely discuss them. And of course, based on the merits of that, we work on go forward. So
Thank you so much, sir. Before we wind up the session, few motivational words for the students to be successful in whatever we do.
absolutely. So I think the whole session, like I said from the start, the very concept of having people like me come in and talk to your students is a starting point to expanding your minds, right? So I feel like this lecture series and a lot of what I said, hopefully today, is about expanding your mind. It's not just about how can I do better at my studies, but how can I manage my time so that I can fit many things into my life. How can I try different things to find my passion, right? If my passion is music, but I've never tried it, how will you know, right? So you need to be able to juggle your time, manage your time well, and experiment. This is the time in life to try different things. I'm not saying fail your exams. That's not acceptable, right? So I'm saying try different things to see if you like doing those things. Talk to your parents, talk to your teachers, go above and beyond. I keep telling people there are only two things if you pick something. One is you got to be good at it. And how do you know you're good at it? You cannot say you're good at it. Somebody must give you a certificate or a medal or a prize or something that says that you're good at it. You should have won a competition or gotten a degree or something. And two, I say go beyond it. Meaning don't just stop at being good at it, but teach other people. Find a community support thing that you can do, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, whatever it is. Go beyond whatever it is that you decide you're going to get good at. Okay, so that's how you find your passion. If you can find something that you're good at and you can go beyond it, that's going to be your passion. And finding that activity is a product of managing your time so that you can try different things. You can let yourself fail. Okay, try two, three things. It didn't work. I'm going to try my next thing. And don't give up. Failure is a part of life. That's how you learn. And, if you keep these things in mind, manage your time, be good, go beyond, allow yourself to fail, I think you can be very successful.
Yes, Gautam, we are coming to the end of the session. Before that, I have a couple of questions to end with. One
Sure.
is we forgot about the rifle shooting medals you won in school. If you could put some light on that. And the next is like this was an initiative by me when the lockdown started that we should do something benefit to others. And this started. I want some ideas from your side how we can create some more things for the school with this lockdown online.
Okay. So the first thing is fairly easy, straightforward. Rifle shooting I found was a passion of mine. Girish, for example, learned to be a rifle shooter. So he would come in and practice, and he got very good at it. But for me, I would literally sleep with my rifle on my bed. There was a story that I read in Amar Chitra Katha in those days that Arjuna, the from the Pandavas and all this kind of stuff, he was eating dinner, and in those days it used to be in candlelight, and the wind blew out the candles, and it was dark. But he continued eating because he knew where his dishes were or whatever it is. Then suddenly a thought went into his head that said, "How can I eat when I can't see, but when I'm shooting my bow should be able to see?" So in the middle of the night, everybody else woke up because he was practicing with his bow and arrow in the middle of the night in the darkness. But to me, that story it got to me where I said, I'm like the modern day Arjuna, if you will. So in the middle of the night, I take my air rifle and I put up a metal target, which you cannot even see, and shoot. And only the sound you'll hear that the pellet is hitting the target. And in order to be able to hit that, you don't know whether your sights are aligned or not because it's black. You can't see. Unless your body is in such a position that as soon as I lift my rifle up, it's automatically aligned and my mind senses the target and shoots, you cannot hit that target in the darkness. So, but I used to do those kinds of things simply because it was a passion. And you have one of your students who's a rifle shooter, and he'll know what sight picture means. When you pick up your rifle, the sights must be aligned. And I used to do that in the darkness, and the result can only be when you hit the target. You may think it's aligned, but if you squeeze and no sound comes, then you're not hit the target. So to me, rifle shooting was a passion. It was not something somebody forced me to do or anything. And I find all kinds of ways to practice all times of the days, anytime I want. I'd have in the school, I'd have rubber band pellets and shooting rubber bands off a ruler and all this kind of stuff, trying to hit something. There's a constant thing in my mind of how do I, get more accurate at what I'm doing. So rifle shooting in that sense was a passion. It was great to be part of the Madras Rifle Club. They kind of saw the talent and they nurtured me. The national coach was from Chennai as well, and we managed to get some sponsorship at that time. We were there was no money in our house, and rifle shooting is an expensive sport. So we got some sponsorship from different people who saw the potential and helped us kind of get the ammunition, weapons, and things like that. Times were tough, but the results came out quite nicely, as you guys know. And so that's the rifle shooting part. It was a passion. We put in a lot of time. Before nationals, we would shoot 40 hours a week. We 10, 15 hours on Saturdays and Sundays, and all these hours during the week, morning, evening practice to get good at it. So again, that's what it takes to win at that level. As far as your second question as to what else we can do in terms of lockdown time, I guess this itself is a good initiative. I would say, since I come more from that trying to get fitness and sport into it, I'm hosting Aikido classes online, gymnastics classes online. I am part of the Tamil Nadu Olympics, the Gymnastics Association group. So I get all the links from Sports Authority of India and different sports organizations about training that they're doing online as well. So this is actually a good medium. My suggestion would be to see if you can find a physical activity, whether it's 30 minutes of just regular exercise somebody can lead somebody through, or a sport. There's many things that you can do online in terms of training and getting people up to speed on. But football, great goals online, the Chennai and football thing, all of them have online classes for their students. So to me, if you're not already doing that, my suggestion would be to start, whether it's twice a week, thrice a week, different batches, give the students an opportunity to learn some of these skills through these online sessions.
Yeah, Sabira Miss, if you can put some light on this, we can start something of this physical activity, Sabira Miss.
Sure, sir. It's an interesting thing, and even the students will really love to do it.
Yeah. Any more ideas on how we can do it, when we can do it?
We'll plan this, sure. We'll plan and discuss and then let you know.
Yeah, okay, Miss. Okay, Gautam, thank you so much for giving your precious time. Fazil,
thank you.
Now take to the end of the session.
One last thing.
I just want to thank everybody for their time, patience, and being so organized for this.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a small question from my daughter. She's doing 11th, and Girish was learning at 11 in 11th, 10th, 11th standard. Curious of how he was earning.
How was Girish earning?
At 11th and 12th standard when he was in school.
So there are different things. So one of
the earning from his dad, but how was he earning it at 11th and 12th?
One of the things that he used to do at that point was he made some speakers. He'd rent out the speakers if somebody was having a get together or whatever it was. And that time Rotary Club or somebody, when they have a get together, they'd want somebody to play some modern music. So we'd have some CDs, DVDs, or cassettes at that time. So he'd mix the music, he'd have the speakers, and he'd play the music. So they'd be very happy. Oh, they got what they wanted. And he'd charge them, a few thousand rupees for this or whatever it was. And then he'd have somebody could go there and do that, so that he was still in his classes and whatnot. But just some of these, it's not like there are ready-made opportunities available. You have to sometimes make these opportunities as to what you can do with them. These days, so much stuff is online. Maybe somebody can create an app, or you can, work on some help type activities. There's so many things that you can do if you want to earn some part-time cash. I'll give you a different example, Dr. Kelly. My kids are learning Spanish as a second language. Their teacher is in this country called Guatemala, which is in Latin America and other side of the world. That person over there is interested. That lady basically comes in, basically just talks in Spanish. They have the similar kind of a Zoom chat with her, and that lady makes a few, $1 or $2 per session or something. That's not a lot of money, but if you find kids have a certain skill, they're willing to teach any, whether it is Tamil, whether it is verses from the Quran, whether it is a particular math skill, whatever it is. There are opportunities to say, hey, I'd like to offer it. And around the world, there are 6 billion people out there. Somebody will have a need for that and come in and say, I don't mind. Once a week, I'll come to a lesson that's being hosted by you or your students, right? So there's no shortage of opportunities these days. We just have to be creative to think about what those are.
Very, very creative, very interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, Fazil.
Thank you, sir. Your words have been imprinted deep and will continue to resound as we tread forward in our journey of life. To propose the vote of thanks, I would like to call Hamza Yusuf of class 9. Hamza?
Good evening to one and all, honorable guests, teachers, and my dear friends. It is my privilege to deliver vote of thanks in this session. I, Hamza, on behalf of Sana Model School and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty. On my own behalf, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the guest of honor, Mr. Gautam Ramdas, who spared his time from his busiest schedule to grace this forum. We had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and has shown us a new path. You have explored the possibility and help us find ways to reach a new horizon. I again thank our esteemed guests for the words of wisdom that radiated a source of energy within us. I extend my special thanks to the teachers and my friends involved in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamza. Thank you, sir, for making time in your busy schedule to join us this day. It's been my pleasure to host this session, and I wish you all a pleasant day. Thank you once again, sir. Kudos.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Abdul. Thank you, Khalil. It's just been fabulous. The questions were great. You guys communicated very well. I'm very impressed. And best of luck to all of you. And hope to have more such sessions in the future if you're interested.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, bye.